Black people are getting vaccinated at a very low rate. Some of the news that some of the media that we come across, some of the stories that we come across are trying to implicate that because there's a distrust in the Black community that they're not getting vaccinated at the same rate. But the truth of it is that there's a disparity in the availability of vaccinations in the Black community, and in the brown community, and in the indigenous community, First Nations people. So Black, indigenous, Latino, and other people of color are more likely to contract COVID than white people. The rollout of the vaccines has been inequitable, and more white Americans are being vaccinated in some states. And not all states have released racial data on vaccinations, making the inequity more difficult to correct. First and foremost, I wanted to ask you, are you going to get the vaccination?
I will be waiting to get the vaccination. When my schedule, when things open up to the point where it's like you need to have a vaccine to travel, then I will get a vaccine. But right now, I'm able to do everything in the confines of my place, so I don't need to travel. I don't need to vaccine. So for me, I want to wait. That's just me. I want to wait at least 6 months, if possible, to see how it shakes out. And I think also what we don't really account for is like everybody's chemical makeup is different. And so you could be the one that has a reaction, and these reactions, and this is why I want to wait, is that we haven't had enough time to categorize what the possible reactions to this vaccine are. And so once they say, okay, we found out that people with this blood type or these people with these conditions are more prone to have X, Y, and Z as a result of the vaccine. So now we know how to treat those things. Then I will be like, all right, sign me up.
Mhm. Okay. I mean, and people, people are in the comments saying, no, no shit, Black people have a distrust. Um, I think that when we talk about the Tuskegee experiment, because that seems to be something that people refer to a lot, it was not the same thing of what's happening now. And I think that it has worked in the reverse, because now people are afraid to get the vaccinations, and the people who need it the most are not getting it. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that there's a reason for that, right? Because you see all of the people that I know so many white people who are comedians and in the business who have already gotten vaccinated. I
Oh,
don't
girl,
have.
that's my favorite pastime. My favorite pastime is going to the supermarket and listening to old white people be like, "Did you get the vaccine? Did you get the?" And I'm like, where they dropping the vaccine at? Because y'all all seem to know where it is. And it's the same thing that happened when the pandemic first started. I was living in New York City, and New York was one of the early places, one of the early hotspots. And so
Right.
there were communities where there was like stories where you could, this is when they still was doing contact tracing. So it was like a doctor who went to a ceremony at a synagogue. He had it, and then they tested everybody in the synagogue and all the people in that community. They had trucks that went there and tested people and whatever. And so they were getting it. But then when the Black community, mum's the word. Nobody knows how to find a truck. There's not no ice cream man with no vac, nothing. Nobody was coming to testing no Black folks. And so now here we are 10, 11 months later, and now it's vaccine time. And you have all of these like, upwardly mobile white people being like, oh my God, yes, got to get the vaccine. Like just talking about it in the supermarket. And I'm like, the people who work at the supermarket aren't even vaccinated yet. How the hell you just came in here for some Brussels sprouts, bitch? How you get a vaccine before a motherfucker that been working here 14-hour shifts? That don't make no sense to me.
Ah, word. That's why I love when you're here, because you light up the comment section.